Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Red, White, and Bills. This is the pregame show to the Buffalo Bills, Jacksonville Jaguars Monday Night Football Showdown at the end of Week 3. Well, it's a doubleheader. It's the first game of the doubleheader. So technically, it's not the last game of the week. But nonetheless, the Buffalo Bills are 2-0. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 0-2. And you could say this is a huge – obviously, it is a huge game for both teams. You know the analytics. If you're 0-3, there's like probably a 1 or less % chance that you're going to make the playoffs. So that's huge for the Jags. And but for the Buffalo Bills, you're 2-0. You're coming off a great win against a division rival. Now you're at home with 10 days of rest and an advantage, two advantages of having extra rest and then being at home going into a game against Baltimore. And if you win this game, or you got 2 conference wins, you're 3-0, and you're looking pretty damn good going into it. Do you guys know what I do here? We do the keys to win and key players because it's a week-to-week league. And if I just came up here every week and said we're going to be 17-0, it wouldn't be too interesting. So going into that, we got some keys to win. The first one is red zone defense. I've been listening around in Jaguar land, and one of the big takeaways from them the last couple of weeks is they're not capitalizing in the red zone. They're settling for 3. So we need to force them to get 3 continuously and get the ball back to our offense, and then we can get touchdowns. Second one, we have to be good on first down defense to force them into 3rd and longs, because Trevor Lawrence obviously hasn't been great in the last couple of weeks, and they kind of have they have Gabe Davis, they have Brian Thomas Jr., who are kind of downfield type guys, as we know with Gabe Davis, and they haven't really done much else but make a big play here or there. So you want to be able to force that, and the more you're throwing downfield, the better we have a chance at a turnover and to get sacks as well. And we got to be effective on first down for us running the football, because as you know, we've been a very efficient offense. And if we're in second and long, it kind of makes it more difficult for us. So if we can be effective on first down and get put in advantageous situations to move the ball down the field and play our brand of football, I think we'll be okay. And of course, above all else, you guys know, win the line of scrimmage, and that's on both sides of the football. They have a very good defensive line. Eric Armstead, defensive tackle, Trayvon Walker, defensive end, and, of course, Joshua Hines-Allen. It's going to be a good test for the O-line. We know they've been a top unit. They were top 6 last year, and they're continuing to be in that top 5 range this year. They're number 1 in pass block win rate after week 2, and they're number 3 in run block win rate. So, obviously, we haven't played a front like the Jacksonville Jaguars, but this is a great test for them going into it. And again, for our defense, their tackles have been a huge issue. Yeah, Cam Robinson and then Anton Harrison, a guy that we liked, me, Brett, and Mike and Jake from Nickel City Mafia and Go Bills podcast. That's a guy we kind of talked about because we were maybe looking at a tackle at the time in the draft when we took Kincaid, but he has been struggling as well. And then, of course, you got Mitch Morse, you got Brandon Scherf, and then you got Ezra Cleveland and the interior, who have been the better part of the offensive line. But as a whole, they've struggled. Obviously, we know Mitch Morse went against Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones in our practices all the time. So that'll be a fun matchup. I think we still have the advantage for our defensive line to their offensive line. So that should be good. Going into key players, the offensive line as a whole. So, again, they've been fantastic so far this year, continuing their success from last year. But, again, you got 3 blue-chip players that you got to pay attention to, man. Both the defensive ends or outside linebackers, however they view them, double-digit sacks last year. Josh Allen had, I think he had 17, so he was up in the top 3 or 4 range. And Eric Armstead, again, just an all-around great player. He played for the Niners. I think he played for the Colts a little bit for a couple years. But he's a playmaker. So we got to really, really, really key in on these guys and dominate the line of scrimmage like we usually do. It's going to be hard. They're not a team that they can get bullied, but they love to play physical football. So matching physicality and physicality, that's a great matchup all around. And I'm here to watch every second of that. That's going to be interesting. Obviously, our 2 linebackers, our starting linebackers, are injured, and we got to rely heavily on Dorian Williams and Balin Spector. Now, Balin Spector had a great game last week going in, and he missed a play in coverage, but then after that he was absolutely solid. So I'm assuming with the mind of Doug Peterson and their offensive coordinator, they're going to try to focus on those linebackers because they know we got a great front. They know we got a pretty good back part of the secondary. So they're going to try to key in on the middle of the field where Trevor Lawrence is best at, and focus on these linebackers and try to put them in a do or die situations. And then someone in our wide receiver room, it could be anyone, who's going to step up this week. We haven't seen much noise. It's, Khalil Shakir 50 yards, Coleman 50 yards there. It's like it's not consistent. I mean, Shakir's been consistent, but who's going to really step up, because we might need a big game from a receiver this week. And then, Dalton Kincaid, the big – I mean, I guess you could throw Curtis Samuel in there too with Kincaid. And I know I mentioned wide receiver, but a big talk in our offseason was Kincaid and Samuel are going to be real big focal points in this offense. Kincaid had 70 catches last year. He's going to get, 100 plus targets. He's going to get way more catches than that. He's been quiet. He does his job, what he's supposed to do in blocking and washing people out and taking, he's been, especially in week 1, he was really getting blanketed. But nonetheless, everyone said, oh, Curtis Samuel had his best year with Joe Brady. So everyone's expecting another 1,000 total yard season. And so far, what was it, 15 yards the first game, 12 the second game, a couple catches on a screen pass. He hasn't really been utilized in that, he's a guy that we really need to get involved in the game. Maybe they're waiting, but why wait? Get them involved. But yes, that'll wrap it up for me. It's going to be it's still, again, they're 0-2, but they could easily be 2-0. They got a lot of talent all across the board. It's a well-coached football team. They've been struggling with the details as of late the last 2 weeks. How quick can they recover and fix those details and apply them and get back on the winning track? I don't know, but there's no excuse with 10 days of rest, coming off a dominant win over a division rival at home on Monday Night Football, losing to a team that has been struggling the first 2 weeks. Even though they're a great football team, this is an opportunity to put one of your conference foes in the ground and put them in an 0-3 hole. And you guys got to go win all these games in a row to get yourself a chance at the postseason. So this is a huge game for both teams, and we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it out. Good luck to both teams, and go Bills.